Hello, and thanks for spending some time with me today. In this episode, we're going to continue on refreshing this 1998 Mitsubishi Eclipse. You've seen in previous episodes some of the work that I've got to this point, and this is a continuation of that. And in this episode, we are going to get to this suspension, subframe, basically the differential, everything, and refresh it. It's probably one of the worst pieces of the car to refresh, meaning that it has to have a little bit of rust on it, but nothing that sandblasting won't care. It's surface rust, but if you find any rust in this car, it's only a little bit on here. Let's get going, and then I'll go into a further deep dive in what we got to do on this. So there it is, and you're wondering what the plan of attack is. Well, it's pretty basic to take this apart. Here you have the subframe assembly that the rear differential needs to come out, but before that we got to take the axles off the hubs here, and there's the lower control arm we got to do. And as I take the shock off, the upper arm will come off. We'll disassemble that. Something I want to try and do is, when you've seen when I disassembled the parking brake drum assembly, one thing I want to try and do is take this hub off and not put it back on until I assemble all the springs and everything. I don't know if it has to be in there, if this overlaps with some of the things. It probably does, but I never looked at that close enough when I was disassembling. But I would like to try that. So I'm going to see if, I think you can. I'm going to take the hubs off without taking anything apart, which means when I put the parking brake drum assembly back together, I can do that and then put the hub on last and then bolt the axle in. Essentially, I did actually do, by mistake, take one of these bolts off. You can see where there's, I've taken it out already. There's the end of the bolt that I haven't taken apart. But by accident, I thought I was taking the brake caliper off bolt, and I latched onto the wrong one. So you can see that this actually comes apart. It is latched in there, but it is loose now, completely out. So I think I can do that with, if you can see, there's the other bolt, and then there's in there too. And I think that'll just come off. So we're going to try that, and when I assemble, I'll see if that's possible and let you guys know if you can. It just makes it easier for sight-wise to not have this in the way when you're assembling that brake drum. We're going to find out to see if that's possible, and I'll let you know when I get there. But right now, I think it's going to start disassembling. Like I said, we're going to do the shock, I think, assembly and do some of that. So let's get to work. can see how meticulous I am in some of the prep that you've seen me do and getting it ready to do some painting and etc. You've probably seen when I did these little connectors how I did a toothbrush for them. A little tip on that too, I've mentioned this before in past videos, but I'll mention it again because I think it's worth it. You can use simple green, spray it on these, use a toothbrush, but that isn't going to be 100% of getting all the crevices. The simple green actually will soak in a little bit of where all the dirt is that you can't get to even with the toothbrush. So you might have noticed that I used compressed air, and when it was still wet with simple green, I sprayed it or shot it with the air, and basically pressure washes it to a very clean finish. I'm sure others do that. That's something I learned by accident, just trying to dry things off, that it works really well if you're trying to get every little bit off. Just let that simple green soak a little bit and then blast it with some high compressed air, and it'll clean it up really nice. You can also notice that, let's put this away here. You'll also notice that I am very meticulous in everything. So everything has to be looking brand new when I'm finished. It doesn't matter how small or tiny the piece is. And that is what you got to do if you want a full refresh restoration to make it new or better than new. And I'm sure a lot of you know that, but just go that extra mile. It makes a difference. Take a few more minutes. And then when people are looking at it, especially if you've got a really shiny car, you've done everything, and then you have that one little bolt or one little connector, it really shows up a lot when it's filthy, dirty, rusted or whatever compared to everything around it. So clean everything up and make it right, of course, and you'll be happy with the results. And so will everyone else is looking at it. So here's the hubs that I took out. I've decided to get brand new hubs. Just, I can clean these up, but I think just for the cost of them, I'm going to put brand new ones in since I've got it all apart. And I'm still going to see if I can put the parking brake assembly together before I put the hubs in. I am curious if that will be permitted, and I'll let you know. I just haven't got to assembly on that yet. So I'll take you through everything that I've done after the last little presentation you've seen in the video. This takes a lot of time. I've mentioned that before. To get the results that you want, it does take a lot of time. You're going to see as I go through these, there's a lot of little pieces around, and it took me another week to get all this done and to get it where it's at. Not completely done, but we're almost getting ready for assembly. So let me show you where I'm at on a lot of these pieces. So the subframe, look how nice that is. I decided to do POR 50 on it as well. And the reason I did, powder coating would have been fine, but I wanted to get it done quickly, and I don't actually do a powder coat of something that's large because you need a big oven for it. And the powder coat companies here are, and I'm sure there's like that everywhere, they are weeks, if not months behind. So it probably would have taken, honestly, 2 months to get this back, especially on smaller jobs. They would consider this a small job because most of them are industrial places. So I did that. Plus, it has a lot of that surface rust on, and it does a nice finish that matches up above. So I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out, and it'll look really nice under there. And yeah, so POR 15, it does a nice hard shell, and that's getting ready to put in the subframe. And I got some assembly left on it. And next, you can see I got little pieces all over the place. It's all sandblasted and painted and ready for assembly. I even cleaned up all the springs and everything too that are going to be put in. The axles are all redone. This is the right side, I believe, and suspension parts. I still got this to do, and I'll show you how I'm going to be doing that. So here's my sandblaster, and I've already got something in there right now that I don't know if you can see kind of what I'm doing there. But because my sandblaster is only this long, and these pieces that I'm doing stick out, I'm actually doing a little homemade thing here, which works fine to extend it so I don't get dust all over. I'm also trying to do this outside, so that even helps it, because you can never get this sealed up, even if there could be a tear in this bag as well. That happens because it's just a plastic bag, honestly, a big garden bag that I used. But that's what I'm doing to blast these things. I've got let me show the exhaust pieces left to do. So I'll be doing the same thing when I do the sandblasting of these pieces here. and we'll do that with that sandblasting technique that I'm going to do. So if you got one of these sandblasters, that would be ideal for doing a refresh. It'll save you lots of time. You'll be very happy with the results. And and obviously cost, if you wanted to get the sandblasted by someone else, it would cost you a lot of money compared to just buying one of these from Harbor Freight or Princess Auto in Canada. I've got another video that I've showed you what I've done to make this more of a, call it a semi-professional machine compared to what you get. I got a foot pedal on there, and I've got, it's called a Dust Deputy to kind of do a recycle of the media that I use, blast media. I've got a kind of a strainer in here to catch any debris so it doesn't get recycled. And I've got a interior adjustment back in there too. Anyway, there's a whole video on this if you want to get more into that. That's what this one is about. But if you're interested in that, what you can do to make this even better, I recommend that. Put glass in here, for example, to see better. Got a light in there. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff that I did. Lower the tray. Okay, I'm getting too far ahead. You can watch the video if you want to see the rest of that. Anyway, that's what I'm doing there. And if I look up here, you can see I've got one painted piece done here, and that's the rear, actually, bumper cover. I can reassemble that. I haven't got the rest of the pieces yet. Well, I shouldn't say that. I got one other piece, but we're taking some time with getting that done. I've got a bit to do anyway until I get to that point. As I've said in last week's episode, those pieces that are on the exterior of the body, I want to do a paint correction first on the remainder of the body without those panels on. And so I've got some things to do there before I even assemble that. So if I don't get the painted stuff right away, that's okay. We can get that on later. And that's what I've done all this week. Just a note, as I said before, it takes a long time to do it right, to refresh things and make them look like new again. In fact, doing all the prep and getting it repainted, or if you're going to powder coat or whatever type of finish you're going to do, to get it all done takes a lot of time compared to disassembling and assembling. With that said, in the next episode, I hope to actually be assembling things, which should go a lot quicker, and you'll see how that goes in the future video. And to make sure you don't miss that, make sure you subscribe, like, and share if you could as well. Appreciate that. Appreciate all the comments I've been getting and all the interest in this car. It gets me motivated as well to continue on and to get it done quicker than I normally would if I wasn't doing it for you guys to follow. So thanks so much for enjoying the process along with me. I certainly can't wait to get these parts put back into the car and assembled, just not only because it looks nice, but to get some of the floor space that I desperately need all the time when I'm working on other projects. So I can't wait for that. So until the next episode, make sure you enjoy your day and always make it right.